Deb Coviello, and welcome to another episode of the Drop-In CEO podcast. We are live today, and week after week, I am so grateful that you have dropped in to enjoy just a few bits of insight that might be able to help you along the way navigate your career challenges and opportunities with confidence. And today, I am here to talk to you about. And again, I'm going to laugh about this because there are so many times I've dropped into organizations where I see the indicators of leaders really stress. So today's topic is how waiting too long to ask for help impacts your health. Now, I will be honest with you, and this is the inspiration for it. I've never worked with a company that actually a leader will fall ill because of having a negative experience, having all kinds of challenges with their actual organization. I've never actually had that, but one of the things that I see that we have to be really attuned to are the early warning signs that could be an indicator that your health may be impacted if you don't change things so soon. So I just want to tell you that every time that I drop into an organization, and while I am happy to, it is usually at a point of crisis. Now you'll hear me talk about my crisis scale. Maybe I need to change it a little bit, but when a company is in crisis, they are at a place where they are actually starting to lose business. Customers are leaving, they're no longer loyal. A little bit less desperate is when they are in chaos. When everybody is in firefighting mode, the stress is at its highest. You're not necessarily losing customers, but people's health, mental and physical health, are being eroded. Now, I'd love to come into a place where you're at a place of control and you're seeking continuous improvement so you could have a competitive advantage. Again, there you have it. 5 steps of my crisis scale: crisis, chaos, control, continuous improvement, and competitive advantage. I usually drop in when they're at least in chaos and sometimes in crisis. So when I work with these leaders, they do appear calm on the surface, but I do see signals in their body language that shows me elsewhere. I'm happy to work with them, but one of the things that I want to express to you, I want to express to you out there, if you're watching this or listening to this on the replay, if you are starting to feel stress, the writing is on the wall. You've been voicing we need to bring in some help now, because otherwise we will be in crisis and losing customers and maybe people quitting and all the bad things. I don't mean to be doom and gloom, but the mere fact is so often, leaders wait too long to ask for help, or even if they know they need help, too long to pull the trigger. Now, what I'm going to do is share with you about 3 or 4 examples where either I've dropped into an organization and what have I seen in that particular leader that is an early indicator of either physical or mental health issues. Again, we work to live. We don't live to work. Think about it. And let me share a few stories. Now, recently, I had the good fortune of dropping in and helping a leader during a critical time to meet a customer requirement. And this leader was super organized. They wanted somebody to help them for the last 6 months, but circumstances simply delayed. Now, what I saw in this person was a highly capable leader, but maybe they had arrived at a crossroad and perhaps it was a little bit too little too late. While I worked on this assignment and came out with flying colors, at the end of the day, we had a conversation. We could clearly see this person needed to move on because all of the stress really took a toll on them. And while maybe they were still in physical good health, they came to a crossroad and said, I need to do something different. Now, I hate to see when that happens to somebody, but also when you take that pause, it's probably the best thing that you've ever done. So I do encourage taking a sabbatical, taking a pause in your career, but hopefully not at a time of crisis that has a negative impact on your health. Now, another example, this one was from about 4 or 5 years ago. I was actually supposed to work with this organization about 6 months earlier, but they didn't pull the trigger. And then 6 months there afterwards, they said, we need you. There was a major customer issue. They had lost their quality leadership, and potentially they were closing the plant down. Now, extremely stressful. This leader that I was working with was really, really in good physical health, but the pacing and constantly on the phone. And you could see it in their face, despite having a very professional, collaborative persona. You could see the mental strain on them. Now, I'm happy to say we got through the crisis. We were able to shut the plant down, transfer the technology to a new facility, and help the customer regain confidence in the company. And we left on really good terms. But just think about all of those lost hours that that person did not have with their family. Undue stress that maybe I'll never know if there was a negative repercussion. Thank goodness they were in absolutely perfect health. They exercise. But think about it, had it been a different leader that maybe didn't have such great health to begin with, think about what the impact was maybe on them, their family, and maybe others. The list goes on and on. And there was one other leader that I really, really care about. I also dropped into their organization at a time of crisis. And you could see the worry on their face. They were never at home. They were working constant hours. And he didn't sense physical unhealthiness, but you could see that they were unhealthy and out of balance. Now, leaders keep these things to themselves. But had they brought me in a little bit sooner, the transition that we went through might have been a little smoother. That person may have regained a few more hours of sleep, time with family, and less stress. I know firsthand that stress takes a significant toll on my body. I'll talk about myself personally. Sleep, it kills the sleep. You wake up at 1:30 in the morning, the brain is going for that unfinished business, and then boom, you are up. And day after no sleep, Debbie is not a friendly person. I know from personal experience. And just one more thing that I want to share with you. When I was at my last corporate job, I loved it. Absolutely loved it because it was the work that I truly loved to do. But there was also a crossroad for me where it was so stressful that I remember even coming home to my husband, where the usual things that helped me to calm down and relax and get a good night's sleep were no longer working. And I said, something's got to change. Something has to change. And thank goodness something did change before I lost myself and maybe had an acute health situation. So I've shared these examples, but just hold tight. I will give you some suggestions on how to improve this. I have to ask you some questions because this conversation, while it appears one-sided, I want you to be talking to yourself in your head. Maybe you can be talking to me even though I can't hear you right now, though shameless plug. If you like this episode, please reach out to me. I would love to talk to you about your situation. But now back to the questions. Does this sound like you? And here is what I propose if this does sound like you. Are you in a challenging situation? And what prevents you from asking for help sooner? Think about it. Is it you? It could be you. You could have some pride and say, I'm just going to muscle through this and I'm going to wait and see if things get better. But I will tell you, things don't get better. You might be able to manage it. You might be able to navigate it. You might be able to come out successful, but at what cost? Think about how many baseball games that you've missed. Maybe a parent-teacher conference, or maybe a grandchild, a niece and nephew that you missed an opportunity. Don't let this be you. Don't let it be you that's holding back from getting help sooner. Or could it be the environment, the barriers? Oh, it's the cost of bringing somebody else in. But maybe you haven't learned the ability to influence and put things in the context that it's a business imperative that we bring somebody in. Otherwise, people are going to burn out, leave, get ill, and ultimately we're not going to achieve the result that you want to. I'm going to ask you, is your family missing you? And what are you fearful of bringing in help? You have to ask yourself that question. And again, I want you to be thinking about your situation, either if not now. Have you ever been in a situation before where you felt helpless, you needed extra resources, you didn't ask for help, you got through it, maybe unscathed, but could it happen again? And what will you do differently next time? Again, I am speaking to you, and I just want to encourage you not to wait. I have some clients that brought me in. Remember the crisis scale. Crisis, chaos, control. I have 3 clients that brought me in during a place of control. And yes, there was work and there was urgency to get certain things done. But nobody became ill. Nobody became stressed. If it was stressful, it was because we were all aligned to do the work that was needed. And ultimately, those businesses have realized significant growth, low stress, and they're in a much better place. They're actually moving to a place of continuous improvement. So I want you to be thinking about your situation, but I do have some actionable tips for you because I don't want to see you suffer. I don't want you to have health issues. So here's what I propose to you. First of all, just reflect on this episode. Self-awareness. Self-awareness is the first step. See the signals in your behavior and just pause. Stop, think, feel your body, and see the pain possibly inflicted on yourself or inflicted on others. And don't be sad. Just be aware and realize it's the first step to be able to choose potentially a different way of performing or acting. Now, step 2. What is the root cause? What do you own for not asking for help? What do you own and what can you change? Don't always just say, I need another set of hands. Just look at yourself. Do you control too much? Do you not delegate? Do you not trust others? Do you, just take it on yourself versus leveraging the expertise you already have in your organization? I ask you first from a root cause perspective, is it you that's causing the stress without learning new skills of getting others to help you and maybe reduce the stress? It could be your behaviors and habits are perpetuating it. Or another root cause could simply be the environment. What broad questions could you ask that what got us to this point? What are the management practices that we just as a business don't resource properly, or we set unrealistic deadlines, or we don't do our due diligence to understand the customer expectations and stay ahead of the curve? You could start being more of a leader and asking these broader questions, because when we solve those management issues, those things that create the conditions that set people up for failure, and then you say, we got to retrain people, we got to get more people, be able to get to the root cause of why are we even at this current state. It's hard work, but if you don't address the root cause, you're going to be on a perpetual roller coaster of having to fix and then pause, and then fix and pause and back and forth. And then finally, step 3, have courageous action before you break. And again, before you break, I don't want you to break. Either you need to change and the trajectory, the environment needs to change to work differently. Again, you need to be courageous and say, I got to do something different because the old playbook is not working. And I talk about this in the CEO's Compass, your guide to get back on track, my book. The old playbook sometimes doesn't work. And when we default to it all the time, but conditions are different, it's going to make you unwell. And then finally, step 4, if you can't do this yourself and you need a listening partner, sometimes that's all you need, have the courage to use your network or a mentor or the drop-in CEO just for a conversation. It may be the best investment in your well-being. Talk to somebody. Be vulnerable. Tell them how you feel. Just talk through it. If they're really a great listening partner, they're going to ask you questions that are actually going to help you discover the truth, give you the courage to ask for help. Also, what can you change about your persona that got you to this place? Realize the playbook doesn't work anymore and choose to do things differently, because, again, I don't want you to have this pitfall of waiting too long to ask for help, because it can negatively impact your physical health, your mental health, and gosh darn, what about the people around you, whether it's at work, your family, or community? And again, I'll go back to what I said at the beginning. I want to provide you these insights because I want you to struggle less and be able to enjoy the things you love most, whether it's for yourself, your family, your community, or even people at work. So that's what I had to share with you this week. I feel very, very passionate about it. And if you can do this yourself, kudos to you. I'm so grateful that these insights were able to help you. But the greater good is if you like this episode, share it with at least one person. that you think could benefit from this. Again, this is going to potentially be out, re-recorded on my podcast platform, but we're going to have this out on YouTube, plus sound bites. If you felt this was so valuable, share it. Share it. Again, it's not for me, it's for your community. But just know, I am here for you. And if you want to reach out to me, go to my website, dropinceo.com, go to my contact page. Let's just have a conversation to get to know each other. I love getting to know people, but I just find I have a way of being able to cut through the noise, cut through the clutter, and be able to hear maybe what is bothering you and impart some insight right away. I play a lot on LinkedIn, so if you're active on LinkedIn, go to Deborah A. Coviello, the Drop-In CEO, and direct message me. And again, let's just have a conversation. I am just here to help you. I do pay it forward. I perhaps at a fault to give it away. But I just want to see you succeed, as my mentor Dave Hasse would say. And with that, I just want to say thank you so much for dropping in on the Drop-In CEO podcast. I wish you well. I really do. I wish you well and much success, and until we meet again.